All right, welcome everyone to yet another MandoLessons Live, coming at you Saturday mornings when they happen. It's been a busy October, so I think is this the first one in October? It's been a long time, but glad to see so many folks here. Almost 30 people already in the chat. All right, let's see. We got people from, let me zoom in a little bit so I can read easier. We have Georgia, Minnesota, Vermont, Indiana, Idaho, Tel Aviv, Australia, Vancouver, Tucson, Kentucky, Reno, Los Angeles. Awesome. So many people. Northern Ireland. Good stuff. Ontario. All right, well, that is great. Good to see everybody here. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. I'm going to be a little bit of hacking and coughing. But if you haven't been here before, the way this works is pretty informal. I love to hear what everyone's working on. I love to hear if you can hear and see me well enough. It seems like everything's coming through. But if I'm too quiet or too loud or anything, let me know. I love questions. Anything anyone's been working on. You know, mandolin or just music related. Love to hear where you all are at and what's kind of floating your boat these days. What's exciting to you? What are you having troubles with? I'll do my best to keep up with the chat, but sometimes it gets a little wacky. That said, just kind of here for the good time. Awesome. Ted, you're here. Good to see you. Michigan. We got Tennessee, Arkansas. All right, this is great. People from all over the place. That first tune I just played is a great tune. Fiddle players play it in cross A, A-E-A-E, but I don't tend to do that. That said, I do have a lesson on cross tuning if that's something you want to get into. But that tune was called... Oh, what was that tune called? I'm blanking on the name. It's called Speed the Plow. I got a request for Fire on the Mountain. I have a lesson for that one on my website, but honestly, I don't play that one enough to keep it in my head and in my fingers. It's a great tune. There's a great version of Fire on the Mountain it's another tune with the name Fire on the Mountain. Issam Monday's Fire on the Mountain that I've been playing more, but I also can't remember how that one goes. But good stuff all around. Yeah, I love getting requests. I can only do it if it's in the public domain. Fire on the Mountain's a great example of a great tune that I would be able to play if I could remember how it goes. Sometimes I just try anyway, but that one's totally out of my head at this point. All right, St. Anne's Reel. That's a great tune. I will definitely play that one. I will jump over to the other window here so you can get a closer look at my fingers. St. Anne's Reel is a classic tune in the key of D. Here's how I do it today. All right, that was a little bit of St. Ansriel. Excuse me. It's a great tune. One of my favorites. A real popular tune. It gets played in kind of almost every musical tradition. I think it's traditionally a tune from Quebec, but it gets played in bluegrass, old time Quebec. I've heard it in Irish sessions. It's a great one. Good stuff all around. All right, got more requests flying in. That's great to see. All right, let's see. So, try to keep up with the chat here. Hirak says, how do you join different scales, major and minor and other scales? I would say in terms of that, I've got a couple lessons on my website. One is learn to play every major scale, where I kind of go through a closed position system called 4-finger closed position scales. It's on. You can also find it on the Jazzmando website, which is jazzmando.com, all one big word. And they've got a lot of stuff, and they go into more. They've got some minor stuff as well. You know, I think a lot of times you can just use your ears and, you know, kind of if you every time you listen to a tune or you hear something on the radio or wherever you're listening to music, if you can sit down and say like, okay, is this major or minor? You can say happy, sad. You put descriptive words to it, things like that. But you know, is that major or minor? Major or minor? And there's kind of one major scale, and then there's a lot of scales that are referred to as minor, and in old time music they're often referred to as modal, things like that. But kind of keeping your ears open. I'll try to play something minor later on, but check out my website, especially in the technique and fundamentals section of my website. I've got some information on there about that sort of thing. Where am I here? Cool, Lawrence got a McClung armrest, which is this thing right here. Love those things. It sounds like he's enjoying his as well. Glad to hear it. I got a request for the Wren, Golden Slippers, and Amazing Grace with some double stops. Cool. And then I've also got a question from Rick. Have you ever jammed with Don Julin from Mandolins Heal the World? I have not had the pleasure of meeting or playing music with Don, but I would love to at some point. I think he's got a great thing going over on Mandolin Heals the World. Lots of great online mandolin content these days, and the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. I'll play a little bit of the Wren. Ooh, I might also show you guys my newest project here. I just got this the other day. This is a mandola, so it's tuned C-G-D-A, like a viola. Maybe I'll play the Wren on this just for a change of flavors here. So it's going to come out in a different... Oh no, I can play it in E minor still. See if we can do it down an octave. little bit of the Wren, see if I can catch up with the chat again. Cool. JN says he got to play some mandolin for some kids at Goodwill and played some tunes for my website. Cool, I'm glad. Sounds like a lot of fun. I love doing that sort of stuff. Kailash, apologies if I'm getting your name incorrectly, says, hello from India. Thanks for joining us. And if I can play any Indian folk style. I spent a year in India, and right after high school, down in Tamil Nadu, and ended up learning to play the veena, but I haven't played in years. I don't have a veena, and I've forgotten most of the Indian music that I did know. But I wish I had kept up with that stuff, because I really enjoy that kind of music. And Mandolin Srinivas is one of my heroes. I loved his music. I still love his music. But thanks for joining in. And sorry I can't play any Indian music for you. It's all out of my head now. Recovering bassist, good to see you here. It says I'm making progress. I know you are. It's great to see you every week, and it sounds like you're always doing something new, which I applaud mightily. You say I'm still struggling with fast notes that involve my middle and ring finger, then going to the next string, getting smooth sound out of it, like F sharp G to A. Oops. I'll switch to a mandolin here. I think something you can do is just sort of set up a little kind of pattern for yourself. Like if there's something you know you're lacking in, just set up something. I'll switch over to the other screen here. How do I do this? So yeah, so if you're talking about F sharp G A, maybe just sort of set up a little pattern that's like F sharp G A, C sharp D, C sharp A. Again. So, something that uses your ring and middle finger exclusively and makes you change strings. Something that's not part of a tune, but something that's very repetitive and uses that skill a lot. That I think should help. Cool. Awesome. Mark was jamming along when I was playing the Wren. Glad to hear it. I got a request for Back Up and Push and Jerusalem Ridge. Back Up and Push is a great tune that I don't quite know well enough to play it, but it's one that's on my list to really get under my fingers. Jerusalem Ridge is a copyrighted tune. It's a Kenny Baker - Bill Monroe tune. Cool, Peggy. Good to see you from Windsor, Ontario. Black Phillip says, zoom in, please, on the mandola. I'll do that later on. Also, thank you so much, Black Phillip, for the super chat donation with a request for Amazing Grace with some double stops. So maybe I'll kill two birds with one stone here and zoom in on the mandola and play you a nice, or hopefully nice, version of Amazing Grace with some double stops. There you have it, a little Amazing Grace with some close-up on the mandola there. So I was playing out of G position, but on a mandola, so it turned into the key of C if you were playing along. I really love larger mandolin family instruments for that reason. They've got more sustain, that slightly lower pitch really kind of brings out some nice stuff. I love hitting open strings. Lots of fun to be had. Get the mandolin back here and try to catch up on the chat. But thank you again, Black Phillip, for the $5 super chat donation. Really appreciate it. All right, let's see. So I had a Golden Slippers request. I'll see if I can get to that in a second here. But I gotta catch up with the chat. I love seeing the chat bustling with activity. That warms my heart every day. All right, I think I'm through there. Oh, Denise says you have a wonderful lilt when you play. Hello, Denise. Good to see you here. Yeah, so something, I think kind of what you're talking about. When I'm playing, it's something you can totally practice. It's kind of like a swing or a lilt. You can call it what you will. But, instead of, if you're playing like a scale, for example, instead of going where everything's very measured, try to make your downstrokes a little heavier handed and a little longer than your upstroke. So it becomes... So putting that swing to it, and you're still kind of thinking in straight eighth notes, but it's coming out more swung. Versus it's the same speed, just a different swing. When you get into tunes and start adding that swing in, really, rather than going it's, and that's all coming from that swing. So working on getting that into your right hand can be really beneficial if you're looking for that more kind of lilting sound. All right, let's see if I can catch up with the chat. I love seeing all these chats. Oh, so I think maybe I'm trying to go too fast, but maybe Matthew had a question about how it's tuned, the mandola. So it's C, G, D, A. So the G, D, A are like the mandolin, G, D, A, E. You lose the E string and you put a C string on below. It's like the way a viola is tuned. But it's got a low C and it doesn't have the high E. Recovering bassist says, it's another instrument I want. I know, there's too many instruments, too little time. Oh, cool. Kailash is from Tamil Nadu. Glad to hear it. Yeah, he was an amazing musician. Sorry to lose him. All right, we got somebody from New Hampshire, I think. Great. A Maitri Fortress is our god. I don't know that one. I'm not that up on the hymn repertoire, but it's great, beautiful stuff. Hello from Ireland. Awesome. Uncle Bobby, thank you so much for the $10 super chat donation. Really appreciate it. Helps me do live lessons like this and keep the website up and running. So it's always appreciated. Yeah, hammer-ons and pull-offs are more pronounced on the mandola. That's true. I think because the string tension is a little looser and you've got more scale length to work with, you can really, you don't lose as much of the note when you hammer on a mandolin. You can lose a lot the power of that note, but on a like a mandola or an octave mandolin or a guitar, as the scale length gets longer, you can really you don't lose as much of the sound when you hammer on or pull off. Mike asked if I have the tabs on the double stops I played in Amazing Grace. I do not, unfortunately. I was just kind of making that up as I went along. That said, I do have some lessons in the double stops, in the technique and fundamentals section of my website. There's a whole series on adding double stops to your playing, and watching that series and trying to add some of that stuff in to Amazing Grace once you get the basic melody down and say the key of G. It's great practice. I kind of go through a couple ways to think about different double stops, and it'll really help you add double stops to every tune rather than just one tune. That said, I am also adding slowly kind of more fully tabbed out kind of transcriptions of how I play tunes. I've got about 4 out at this point, and hopefully more in the future, but they take a little more time than your average lesson, so they come out a little bit slower. Azia, apologies if I mispronounced your name, says, learning to play the harmonica. Cool, it's great motivation to get better at chords so that I can play at the mandolin. Oh, play harmonica and the mandolin at the same time. That's great. I love that multitasking sort of stuff. I say, keep up the good work. That's a fun thing to do, is try to get 2 instruments going at once. Do you know, the Pelican 3 says, do you know the pentatonic scale for the key of A? Yep, so I'll zoom into the closer one here. So it starts, if you're thinking about the open A string, we'll start there, and then we can also take it to the lower octave. So pentatonic just means a 5-note scale, and what it's doing is it's taking out some of the notes that sound very kind of crunchy in the key of A. So it takes out that 7th note of the scale. So what a major pentatonic scale is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. So in fret numbers, that's open A, 2nd fret is a B, 4th fret is a C sharp, open E, F sharp is 2nd fret on the E string, and then back to your A on the E string, which is 5th fret. So pentatonics are great because they don't, none of those notes are really going to interfere. If someone's playing an A chord, you can just go. And all those notes are going to sound pretty good with that A chord. Whereas if you hit a note like maybe your G sharp or your D natural on your A string, or your G sharp on your E string, those are gonna kind of cut through a little bit more, and they're gonna kind of clash with that chord a little bit more. So if you're playing A, so I just tried to sing an A drone note so you could hear that clash a little bit more. So yeah, and if you're thinking like the number of the scale, if you think of every scale note, and there's a lesson coming out on this called scale degrees soon. If you count up the scale degrees, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Too high to sing. And then 8 is also your 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 1. So you're gonna leave out your 4 and your 7, and you have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, or 8. And that's your pentatonic scale. So you can do the same thing down low, starting on the 2nd fret of your G string. You have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, or A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, A, or 2nd fret, 4th fret, 6th fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret, open A. And that's primer on your major pentatonic scale in the key of A. Yep. Ronan says dotted musics are always used in folk music. Definitely. Rebecca, thank you so much for the $5 super chat donation. Really appreciate it. Asya, again, apologies if I'm saying your name incorrectly, says, can you do Harvest Home? Sure. So, so there's a little bit of Harvest Home, and a lesson to myself, along with everyone else, is if you start a tune too fast, and then it's going to only get faster, it's going to come back to bite you. Because I started that tune, which is fine as long as I'm playing that speed the whole time. But people love to add this triplet to it, and as soon as I hit that, I was like, oh, I'm going too fast to cleanly play that triplet, so I should have slowed it down. And that's much cleaner. So play the fastest, hardest part of a tune first, make sure you can play it at that speed, and then slow everything around it down so you've got a nice, consistent, clean sound. And that was me showing a perfect example of not doing that. Tomas Goldberg, apologies if I got your name incorrectly, but thank you so much for the super chat donation. Really appreciate it. Cool. Uncle Bobby's got a great question for the group, which is, who in this group goes to a jam session regularly? That is a great question. I think that's one of the biggest things that you can do for your own playing, is getting out there and playing with other people. You know, you might be in way over your comfort zone, but kind of being surrounded by people that know a lot of stuff that you don't is a great way to kind of get better fast. You know, you might feel like you're kind of getting left in the dust, but, you know, forcing yourself to try to keep up with where everyone else is at, that really helped me and continues to help me when I feel like I'm kind of a small fish in a big pond full of bigger fish. Really kind of can motivate me to, like, okay, I see what people are doing, this is how it's done. And even if I'm not playing, even if I'm unable to, like, you know, join in musically, I can still sit there and listen and be like, okay, this is what it sounds like, this is what I'm aiming for. Maybe write down the name of some tunes or songs that people are playing so I can go back and work on them on my own and come back ready to, and also the key that they're doing them in. So I know my version is going to match up with theirs, come back and play, and that really is going to be a huge help. I think the biggest strides I've made in my own playing are from playing in groups, you know, whether it's social jams or creating a band or joining a band and just being like, oh, all right, I guess I'm doing this. Like, here we go. Like, kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Is that a phrase? In any case, that's, I think, a huge thing. So yeah, if you can, get out there and play, because it's there's lots of nice people. If anyone's mean or grumpy to you, it's not your fault, that's their fault, and they're doing the wrong thing by not being accepting of what's going on. You know, so don't be afraid. Just get out there and do it. And 99% of people out there are going to be super friendly, super helpful, and super nice. Mark requests the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies. I wish I could do that one, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I could probably get that little riff in my head, but it's probably copyrighted, and I don't know how it goes right now. But I appreciate the request all the same. Cool. JN says, I appreciated the last 2 lessons. Cool. You're enjoying those Dunlop prime tones. I just put out a lesson playing with a bunch of different picks at once. And I just started... I talked about this pick that I use often, the Dunlop prime tone, 1.5 millimeter. Go check out that lesson if you haven't already. Okay, recovering bassist says, can you play something up the neck, like past the 12th fret? Sure. So the nice thing about the 12th fret is it's just like starting over on the instrument. And often what you can do is use your pointer finger as if it were the nut of the instrument. And you just kind of can get your pointer finger down, always being on the 12th fret, and use use your middle ring and pinky fingers as if they were your pointer, middle, and ring. It's a mouthful, but I'll zoom in here and get you. So what you could do, if you wanted to play like a D scale, start on the 12th fret of your D string. It's pretty cramped up there. But let's see. I'll play a little Golden Slippers up here. That's not Golden Slippers. Oh yeah, it is. That's not how it goes though. Whew, that was a workout. It gets really tight up there. Honestly, I don't play much above the 12th fret. Occasionally, you know, I'll go up for play a note or two up there. But I don't think that really kind of the tone of the instrument up there is quite as nice as open, and it gets tight. And the instrument's already so high pitched that you're already going to be above the rest of the mix. So I don't spend a whole lot of time up there. That said, some people can totally pull it off. Chris Thiele's totally fluent up there. Really admire him for that. JN says, have you ever heard of Yarmouth Reel? That sounds vaguely familiar. I might be able to recognize it once I heard it, but not off the top of my head. Cool. Joshua says, my PS4 is a MandoLessons box. Glad to hear it. Getting us me on the big screen. All right, chat's going wild. Love to see it when that happens. Recovering bassist was talking about button accordion, or I think it was an auto harp. And then Denise says there's a guy who plays a toy button accordion like you wouldn't believe. You can buy one for about $20. That's true. Often, I only know this because I am also a button accordion player. It's just over there. There's actually 2, but that's the one I play kind of closer to the edge of the screen. A lot of the folks that play those toy button accordions have actually gone inside and like put like real reeds in them. So they still look like toys, but they've actually been kind of tricked out to be more playable. A lot of the toy ones are actually just totally unplayable. But I love button accordion. If you're into accordions, whether it's button or piano, super fun. I'd say go for it. It's a good brain workout, especially for me after playing a bunch of different instruments with frets. The button accordion where it's like different notes in different directions. Whew, really kind of lights up my brain in a different way, and it's a whole different can of worms to get into. A lot of fun. Cool. 10 says, I love your lessons. I can play mandolin now. Thank you so much. Cool. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the lessons. Keep up the good work. Keep playing. And yeah, get out there and get your friends to play some music with you. And just go for it. The more, the merrier. Cool. You're looking at getting a chromatic button accordion. Those are very cool. Yeah, that's a very cool system. I love the world of button accordions, whether chromatic or... Chromatic button accordions are very logical and very cool. You can do a lot of stuff with them. Is there a Harvest Home lesson on my site from Recovering Basics? Yes, I believe there is. If there's not, there really should be, and I'll put it on my list. But so if there's not one on my website, somebody point it out to me, and I'll get on that one quick, because that's that one that needs to happen. Cool, you've got a toy button accordion, Denise. That's great. They're super fun to play around with. Cool. Jans verifies that there is a Harvest Home lesson on MandoLessons. Yeah, totally. Uncle Bobby, just get out there and do it. And it's totally overwhelming and scary the first time, but the second time it's a little bit less overwhelming and scary. It's a great way to make new friends and meet other musicians in your community. Just, get out there and do it. Even if you don't play the first time, just go to listen, bring your mandolin. If they play something which they may well, pull it out for that one tune. You can put it away for all the other stuff you don't know. But, just at least show up and say hello to some folks, and I bet it'll be a lot more fun than our nervous brains think it might be. Lewis says he attends jams on the second Sunday, third and Thursday of each month, and every Monday, plus belonging to a local band, Folkwave Station. That's awesome. Glad to hear it. Yellow Rose Farm says, can you play Whiskey Before Breakfast? Absolutely. Let me just catch up a little bit with the chat here, and then I'll do a little bit of whiskey. I also want to keep an eye on the time because I want to do our jam-along thing. I can't remember exactly. I think there was some sort of confusion last time where I said I was just going to pick something random. I might have picked something. I have to go look back through the episode guide. Denise, if you know what I should be doing, thank you for keeping me on track. I would definitely take any information you can give me on what I'm supposed to be playing when we do the jam-along. But we'll have fun with it, or I'll make something up if I haven't decided on anything yet. All right, let's see. Greg West says, how would you know which way to play the D and A? Don't exactly know what you mean. If you can give me a more specific example, I'm happy to dive into that question, but I don't quite know what you mean. Cool. Prime tone 1.3 sharp triangle for Uncle Bobby. Glad to hear it. MO says, anyone else here in Ireland? There's somebody here in Ireland. Cool. Matthew's been lots of great chat about different jams the people were going to. You could ask on, Mark's still asking about Dance with the Sugar Plum Fairy. That'd be a great thing to ask over on MandoLessons.com. There's like a classical section. You could ask in there, see if anyone's done a version of it and can hook you up with some resources. Mo says, would you consider a lesson on the Bach cello suite? That would be fun. Is there a lesson for Faded Love? There is not. Pretty sure that's it might not be a copyrighted song. I'll look into that one. Can you play a bluegrass song in the key of A, then D, then E? Sure, I'll do that in a little bit. Maybe I'll do that with Whiskey Before Breakfast. That'll be fun. Little cross picking. Yeah, okay, so I'll do this. I'll just try to get through a bunch of requests with one. I'll play Whiskey Before Breakfast in the key of A and then the key of D. And when I'm in the key of D, I'll do a whole bunch of cross picking, and then I'll try to play it in the key of E. I don't know how well this is going to work out, but that's how it works. Denise says no jam picked. You're on your own. Cool. Oh, Red Wing. Denise suggested Red Wing. That's a great one. Let's do that. And then we've also got a request for Cherokee Shuffle. Maybe we'll do that one next week. All right, so yeah, let's do that. Let's do Red Wing this week, Cherokee Shuffle next week. So I'll do a Whiskey Before Breakfast in the key of A. It's normally in the key of D, but I'll start in the key of A, then go to the key of D by just moving down a string. And then I'll go up to the key of E. And while I'm in the key of D, I'll play some cross picking. I'll go into the close camera here. So, key of A. So the way I'm thinking through this is playing, Whiskey Before Breakfast usually starts in the D string in the key of D. So in the key of A, I'm going to start in the A string. D. A lot of cross picking. Let's try the key E. There it is, a little rapid fire Whiskey Before Breakfast, key of A to key of D to key of E. That's a great way to build up some energy in a tune, especially with a bigger band where the chords come in and everything. Start out in one key, change to another one, change to another one. That's a fun little change because from A to D, you kind of lose a little bit of energy. And then from D to E, you gain a lot of energy by going up that whole step. It's like, whoa. So you kind of start out nice and energetic in the key of A. And then you go to the key of D, and it's a little lower and mellower. But then you go up a whole step, and it really ramps things up to finish it off. So that's a great kind of little trick to use when thinking about sets, is what key things are in. Okay, so Greg West is asking about chords. There's a great chord. If you go to Mandolin Cafe, there's like a chord finder in one of those tabs, kind of on across the menu bars. It'll show you a bunch of different shapes for those chords, and then kind of figure out what looks similar. Real quick, I'll just kind of go through my favorite D and A chords. So key of D, I like this for a D chord. Second fret on the G string, open D, open A, second on the E. And then for an A chord, I really like second fret on the second fret on the G, second on the D, open A, open E. So I just use one finger, second fret on the first two sets of strings, and then open A and E. Some people can use two fingers, whatever works for you. And then the last, in the Harvest Home, that last chord is a G, open D, second fret on the A is a B, third fret on the E is a G. So you have D, G, D, A. And that's what I'm doing in the key of D. I got a question from, Uncle Bobby's talking about hybrid picking. I've got a lesson on hybrid picking. I'll do a little bit of that. So going back into the zoom in mode here, hybrid picking, and in my definition, is using the pick on one string, like maybe the 4th fret on my G string, and then picking up with my middle finger on the A string, 5th fret. So that way you can get between 2 sets of strings, so you can play the G string and the A string without the D string. So you can do like, kind of get that double stop thing using, I often just use my kind of pick and then middle finger. That's a fun thing. I got a lesson on that on my website. All right, keeping up with the chat here. JN says, you should bust out a little tenor guitar or octave mandolin. That's always a fun thing. I think we're kind of running out of time this week, but maybe next week I'll pull out an octave. Those are fun. And then it says, would you recommend buying a tenor guitar or octave mandolin? Yeah, I think they're very different. Tenor guitar is just 4 strings, but tuned like a mandolin. I actually play tenor guitar and octave mandolin in more of bouzouki tuning, which is G, D, A, and then instead of an E, take your E strings down to a D. So your tuning becomes G, D, A, D. A little more open. You get this kind of drony sound. Octave mandolins are much more sparkly. Tenor guitars are a little warmer, depending on the kind of tenor guitar. I'd say if you have the opportunity, go to a music store that's got both, try them out and see what you like best. Or just look at a bunch of videos online and see if you can get a sense of the general sound differences. Yep, that's the Sam Bush A chord. 2-2 open open. Good stuff. Have you ever tried changing a tune from major to minor? I changed Harvest Home from major to D minor. Sounds pretty spooky. That's a fun thing to do. I'll try that with Harvest Home here. Let's see. Whoa! So there's a little minor and major back and forth of Harvest Home. It's a great thing to work on. It can really get your brain into, oops, still on the close one. Get your brain into that kind of minor and major different sound. Yeah, that's the great thing about mandolins is you play mandolin, you can find your way around a mandola or an octave mandolin or a tenor guitar or a bouzouki or a tenor banjo, plectrum banjo. lots of great instruments out there to play in those tunings. All right, so let's play a little bit of Red Wing. Key of G. It's also called Union Made. There's lesson for it on my website. You can, if you don't know it already, then you can look that up after the fact or now if you want. But I'm gonna jump right into it here. I won't play it too fast. It's in the key of G. Sounds like this. Just I'll give you the first little part so you recognize the tune. Etc. Yeah, so get out your mandolin, get it nice and tuned up, and we will jump into this tune. The way I like to do these is I'll start out, we can both play the melody, or I can play the melody and you play the chords, and then I'll play the chords, you play the melody. You know, we'll do a little bit of back and forth. I'll tell you what to do. If I'm playing the melody, you should be playing the chords. If I go to play the chords and you know the melody really well, it's a great time to work on ornamentation or a little bit of improvisation. Things like that, you know, challenge yourself in this situation. If you don't know the melody yet or you're still working on the melody, just try to work on being nice and solid on this tune or, you know, getting a little note here and there. If you've never heard the tune before, no problem. You know, just see if you can pick up a note here and there or the chord changes, something like that. And we'll have fun with it. Probably play through it 5 or so times. And maybe I'll play some harmony at some point, maybe on the last time through. But, yeah. This is a great way to have a little internet jam going on. So, Red Wing. Maybe somewhere like there. So I'll go into the close view here. So, 1, 2, here we go. You play the melody. Dum, da, dum, da, D part. I'll play the melody, you play chords. You play the melody. Let's do it one more time. You play melody, I'll play harmony. All right. Excuse me. That was fun. I love doing those. I started doing those a bunch of weeks ago now, but whoever had that suggestion, good job. So yeah, next week, well, there goes my pick way back. Whoa. Yeah, so next week we will do Cherokee Shuffle. It's in the key of A. It's a little more tricky, but we won't play it too fast. It sounds like this. There's a lesson for it on my website. It's a little bit crooked. It goes up a little bit to that, in the B part. Goes up to that C sharp, which is always fun to jump up to. But we won't do it too fast, about what I was doing right there. So practice that up during the week. Get that under your fingers. As always, there's a lesson free to watch. There's play-along tracks, sheet music if you need it, but I bet you can get it by ear. All those sort of resources over on MandoLessons.com. Thank you all so much for joining in this week. And Errol, sorry you just got here, but these are always out there to watch right after the stream is over. There's always the, soon enough, Denise will have the session notes up on the website. So thank you, Denise, for keeping me on board with that. That's a really great organizational tool. So you can jump to a particular song. You can either search it by songs or by episode guide with links right to the page. It's amazing. And it's good stuff. Thank you all so much. Hope you all have a great weekend. I'm off to play a contra dance and all that sort of stuff. It's getting cold for outdoor gigs. I played a bunch of outdoor gigs these past couple of weekends, which is why I wasn't here. Cold on the fingers, but those days I think are now behind me. I don't have any more outdoor gigs for the rest of the year, but they're fun while they last. Once again, thank you all so much for the support, and see you next Saturday. Let me just make sure. I'll just look at my calendar here real quick. Make sure I'm not lying to you about next Saturday. Yeah, next Saturday is clear on my end, so see you here once again, noon Eastern Standard Time. Have a good time. Subscribe to MandoLessons on YouTube if you aren't already, because there's new lessons every week. Changing things up, trying to make it better all the time, and yeah, keeping me busy. Thank you all so much for your support. See you next time. Bye-bye.